Hello, everybody. Well, here we are in Hebrews chapter 8, and chapters 8, 9, and 10 all really present one big picture before our eyes, and that picture is based on the Old Testament worship structures that God had his people build. First of all, the tabernacle, then the temple as well. And in these chapters, the writer to the Hebrews has this picture before our eyes of something that perhaps many of the people reading his letter initially could imagine with their own eyes. What did it look like to see the Holy of Holies? We have seen it probably in pictures in our Bible history books, and that's kind of where we get our conception of this. But nevertheless, from this long extended picture and image, he draws a number of interesting conclusions about how everything that God had given to his Old Testament people for their worship life was meant to point to Christ. So, and he's established that Jesus is this great high priest here in chapter 8, when he was seated at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven. By the way, that itself is a nice little picture, isn't it? A minister in the holy places, in the true tent that the Lord set up, not man. And here we have this image coming forward of the tent, in particular the tabernacle, is he's going to make clear. So Jesus is a minister in the holy places, in the real tent, not just the copy of the tent that was placed here on this earth. As it says, if he were on earth, he would not be a priest at all, since they're priests who offer gifts according to the law. They serve a copy and shadow of the heavenly things. So there's an interesting picture or image that the real tent, the real holy place, is in the glorious and blessed presence of God, and that what he has his people put up here on this earth is just a copy of that, or a shadow. A shadow. Now, what kind of image does that give you? Well, it gives you this image of not the thing itself, but only the outline, right? Something that needs the details filled in. For when Moses was about to erect the tent, he was instructed by God, saying, "See that you make everything according to the pattern that was shown you on the mountain." So when Moses is going to build the tabernacle, he is supposed to do it according to the pattern that God sent down, because after all, this is supposed to be a copy and a shadow of the heavenly things, because after all, God says, "Be holy as I, the Lord your God, am holy." This is his law, right? Everything is supposed to go exactly according to that pattern, in line with the holiness of God. Moses is going to build this tent. Now, as it is, though, Christ has obtained a ministry that is as much more excellent than the old as the covenant he mediates is better, since it is enacted on better promises. So here we have this, once again, the picture that Christ has come as the fulfillment or the completion or the abrogation of these old ways of worshiping God. In fact, at the end of the chapter, he's going to say this: what is the first one has been made obsolete, and what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away. So that Old Testament worship life, which was obsolete when Christ came, it needs to vanish away so that the new covenant can come in. Well, what is that new covenant? He's going to go on in the next chapters to spell this out in detail. But obviously, we know the new covenant is the covenant of grace that he has made with us in his son, Jesus, who came and who ministers in the true holy places, and the glorious and blessed presence of God. And really what Jesus does is he brings that glorious and blessed presence of God directly to us. He brings that glorious and blessed presence of God to us in word and sacrament. In particular, think about the Lord's Supper, the way that the gifts of heaven are brought to us here on this earth. This is what Christ does. And so he shows just how much better his covenant is than the old one, in which there were all of these layers of separation before you got to the Holy of Holies and the presence of God. That's the point that we're going to see brought out in the following chapters as well. So there's Hebrews chapter 8. You got to maybe dig back in your memory and think about what it was like for the people to be wandering in the wilderness and get the instructions to build a tabernacle, or later on for a temple to be constructed by Solomon. As you do so, you'll gain richer insights into these 3 chapters in the book of Hebrews. May God be with you and bless your reading.